Blocked by paywalls, drowning in legal jargon? Let's be honest, if you've ever tried to look up a court case, you know the struggle is real. But what if the keys to the courthouse were literally right at your fingertips and completely free? Welcome to This Explainer, where we're going to empower you to navigate the Waukesha County court record system like an absolute pro. Whether you're running a quick background check, digging into some family genealogy, or just following a local case that's been in the news, we're going to break down exactly how to find exactly what you're looking for, step by step. First things first, you might be sitting there asking yourself, wait, am I even allowed to just go look at these files? Well, you might be surprised to learn that under Wisconsin's constitutional principle of open government, the answer is a resounding yes. The whole system of open government and judicial transparency in Wisconsin is anchored in the idea that the public, meaning you, has a fundamental right to inspect governmental affairs. Okay, here's our quick roadmap for today. We'll kick things off with an introduction to court records, dive into how Waukesha County system actually works, walk you through a step-by-step search guide, cover some important considerations, hit a few FAQs and extra resources, and then wrap it all up. Let's jump right into Section 1, Introduction to Court Records and the Open Records Promise. Court records are incredibly vital for legal, genealogical, and personal research because they document the whole shebang, from filing dates to case statuses, right down to the names of the individuals involved. And, barring specific statutory exemptions like juvenile cases or sealed files, you have a fundamental inherent right to inspect these files to understand judicial proceedings. In Waukesha County, the clerk of circuit court manages this massive administrative process, and their job is basically balancing your right to access with the strict confidentiality required by law. Moving on to Section 2, Understanding Waukesha County System and the Architecture of Public Data. To find what you need, it's absolutely crucial to understand how the state organizes this mountain of data. It comes down to two acronyms you're going to hear a lot, CCAP and WCCA. Think of CCAP, the Consolidated Court Automation Programs, as the internal engine. That's what court staff and clerks use behind the scenes. On the flip side, WCCA, which stands for Wisconsin Circuit Court Access, is the free public-facing portal you will actually be using. Launched back in 1999, WCCA is basically your digital window into that internal CCAP system. You can think of the WCCA portal almost like a giant library card catalog. It indexes cases generally from 1992 all the way up to the present. And the state uses these specific two-letter codes to keep things tidy. So civil cases are marked as CV, criminal felonies are CF, criminal misdemeanors are CM, family cases are FA, small claims are SC, traffic is TR, and probate is PR. The beauty here is that the portal brings all these different classifications under one single searchable roof. All right, Section 3, the step-by-step guide for navigating the WCCA portal. Let's turn this theory into action. By following a few super simple steps, you can run a free search without ever needing to create a user account. First, head over to wicawi.wiccourts.gov. You'll be greeted by a standard public terms of use page. Just go ahead and accept that. From there, you'll land on the main search screen. Just pop in the party's first and last name, make absolutely sure to select Waukesha County from the drop-down menu, and hit search. It really is that straightforward. Now, if you want to be a power user, you need to know a few insider secrets. The system requires a minimum of 3 characters for a name, but what if you aren't totally sure how a tricky name is spelled? Actually, you can use an asterisk as a wildcard. For instance, typing JOH asterisk will pull up matches for John, Johanna, and Johnston. Also, always remember to filter by Waukesha County to weed out totally irrelevant matches from the rest of the state. Oh, and adding a middle initial or a date of birth, that's a real game changer for filtering down common names. Now, if you already know the exact case number, searching by that will pull up your results instantly. Every single case follows a very standard logic. Let's look at the number 2023 CF001234. The 2023 is simply the filing year. That CF right in the middle, that's the class code for criminal felony. And those final 6 digits are just a sequential number assigned by the court. Once you understand this little formula, it totally takes the mystery out of the legal paperwork. This brings us to Section 4, Important Considerations and Tips for Overcoming Search Roadblocks. Look, sometimes a search turns up completely empty, and that's when we need to understand the physical and legal limits of this online database. Not everything is available online for sure. While WCCA is great for showing you the timeline and a summary of the case, actually reading the physical PDF documents usually requires a trip down to the courthouse.
WCCA only references the documents. It doesn't give you the actual scans. Plus, under state rules, certain dismissed cases are totally purged from public online display after 2 years. But here's the catch. If a case vanishes from the WCCA portal, that complete unsealed file is actually still available for physical viewing at the clerk of court's office.
So what if you do visit the courthouse to get physical copies? Keep in mind there is a statutory fee involved. Under Wisconsin law, standard copies will run you $1.25 per page. And if you need an official certified copy of a document, say for an employer or an official legal proceeding, there's an additional $5 fee per document. You can request these in person and sometimes even by mail, fax, or email, but payment is always required up front before they start processing it. Moving right along to Section 5, frequently asked questions and further resources. Once you really start digging into court records, you often realize you need to check other databases too. A huge point of confusion for people is appeals. If a circuit court case was appealed to a higher court, you are not going to find those specific appellate proceedings on WCCA. Nope. Instead, you'll need to use the WSCCA portal. That's the Wisconsin Supreme Court and Court of Appeals Access System. It functions a lot like the one we just talked about, but it's a completely distinct database specifically tracking cases from 1993 forward that have moved up the judicial ladder. For any records that simply aren't online, your primary destination is the public terminals at the Waukesha County Courthouse, located at 515 West Moreland Boulevard. You can use their self-help computers during business hours completely for free. Now, if you happen to be looking for federal civil or criminal cases, you'll need to pivot over to the federal PACER system for the Eastern District of Wisconsin. And if it's property liens, real estate deeds, or vital records you're after, you'll want to head straight over to the Waukesha County Register of Deeds. And finally, Section 6, Conclusion, Disclaimer, and our final takeaways. So you now have the tools and the exact knowledge you need to access Waukesha County's court records with total confidence. But please keep this in mind. While you are absolutely empowered to view these records, the data provided online is technically not the official record of the court. Also, this explainer itself is strictly for informational purposes. It's not a substitute for consulting a qualified legal professional if you have specific legal concerns. Always, always verify critical data directly with the official custodian at the clerk's office. I want to leave you with this final, kind of provocative thought. We mentioned earlier that the state limits how long certain dismissed cases display on the WCCA portal to protect individuals. But here's the reality. Private background screening companies frequently scrape this data before it gets purged. That means legacy records can sometimes persist on commercial sites long after the state takes them down. So it really begs the question, how do we perfectly balance our constitutional right to public transparency against an individual's right to digital privacy? It is a complex, ever-evolving system, but I highly encourage you to take these new skills, go explore the WCCA portal, and see the actual wheels of justice in Waukesha County spinning for yourself.